Um, Souderton, Pennsylvania, John. Welcome, Pastor John. Um, Alicia, Amy, Pastor from Maudlin, South Carolina. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, lots of people are popping in right now. I can hardly keep up with you all, but you found the questions pod, which is awesome. So that's where you put your questions during the course of the webinar. I said earlier, I had almost 500 people registered for this webinar. I'm not going to be able to get to all of your questions during the course of the webinar, but if you use the questions pod, I can download that. The questions are connected to your email address, and I can respond to you that way if I don't get to it during the course of the webinar. But I am going to go ahead and get going here. We're talking Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany, and some of the new resources that are in Sundays and Seasons for Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany. You'll get a chance to see a demonstration of the creation of a worship plan, especially as it relates to a midweek worship service. And so I'm kind of excited about showing you that here in a little bit. But first, some, I guess preliminary things. I know some of you know this already, but we've got people who have all levels of experience with Sundays and Seasons, so I'll say it anyway. Sundays and Seasons is a rich and reliable resource for worship planning. It started in a print form, and we had so many resources to share over the years that we created this online platform for Sundays and Seasons that encapsulates both the Sundays and Seasons worship annual and the preaching annual. These are the covers of the latest annuals. What does sundaysandseasons.com do for you? Well, it helps you to prepare and plan services and easily produce worship support materials that you can download and use in your local setting. Sundays and Seasons can help you search for things, and that's a really powerful aspect of Sundays and Seasons. Finding hymns and finding Bible texts and clip art and PowerPoint slides and more. And Sundays and Seasons is also kind of a fun place to explore because there's just so much content in Sundays and Seasons. You just search on just about anything you want in the library, and you'll be able to come up with something useful for your particular needs. And finally, you can extend your subscription to Sundays and Seasons if you have a deluxe subscription. That allows you to add on the preaching module and to do Prelude integration. I mean, there's some other features with a deluxe subscription, including the ability to download music graphics. But you can really make this a spot for your entire planning team, including the homileticians, to interact and prepare for worship. Okay, continuing on. What we're going to do, we're going to tour the site's Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany worship-related content, at least some of the newer content in particular, I suppose. The new stuff for 2024. What am I talking about? Well, for one, the new version of the NRS VUE is now on board in Sundays and Seasons, and it is in fact the default text in Sundays and Seasons. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we will jump in there and I'll show you how to choose between different Bible texts in the your personal settings in sundaysandseasons.com. So the other thing that I suppose is new, we've got a few new seasonal rites. There's a new Advent Midweek series called Restore Our Hope. It seems more appropriate than ever, I suppose, that title. And then Christmas Lessons and Carols with Reflections from Martin Luther. That's a new one also that's in Sundays and Seasons. We want to think about the seasonal essays. And a lot of work is done in creating those seasonal essays. We've got Amy Lindemann Allen framing our preaching from the Gospel of Luke. We've got Catherine E. Williams offering theological and practical reflections on the relationship between music and pastor and the gifts that flow out of that relationship. And Susan Brill gives us the history and explanatory structure for the prayers of the day we use. That's really, really useful things in those seasonal essays, and I hope you're able to find them and kind of create maybe a a baseline of understanding of how you're moving into the next season of the church year. All right. Where do many of us go for all this great content in Sundays and Seasons? We go to the library for sure. We might need to remind ourselves of the many different hymnal collections that are in sundaysandseasons.com. Most recently, All Creation Sings. It's hymns, and liturgical worship content. I like to look at the other resources too, because the other resources in sundaysandseasons.com include prayer books like the Hear My Voice prison prayer book, and now the Spanish version of Hear My Voice is available to you in sundaysandseasons.com. We also have something called Restore Our Hope. That's one of the downloadable worship services in sundaysandseasons.com that I'll be kind of playing around with when we go live onto the site. Okay, so yeah, we'll be playing around with a little bit with this worship service. And one of the great things you could do when you're in the library is just type in Advent midweek and see what pops up, and you'll find that there's a lot of services that are available to you in sundaysandseasons.com. 155 results for Advent midweek, if that's something you do in your local parish. And these tools, Sundays and Seasons, is not just a repository of content. It's also has functionality. And I'm going to do a quick quiz here from left to right. What are these tools? Do you know? What does that tool on the left allow you to do? Go ahead and pop it into the questions pod if you know. Search, exactly. Search or preview also, because you can preview whole items in Sundays and Seasons. How about that one in the middle? What does that help? What does that allow you to do? Download. Yeah, download that content from Sundays and Seasons. And what about that other one? The one on the right? What does that allow you to do? Copy to your Sundays and Seasons clipboard. Yeah, you can copy things to your Sundays and Seasons clipboard and move it from the library, for example, into the planner. And that's some really cool functionality in sundaysandseasons.com. If you're not familiar with what that is, maybe I can show it to you. But that's just a few of the items, of the functions that you can do in Sundays and Seasons. There's all of this as well. Here's another little quiz. If you see all of these tools in Sundays and Seasons, do you know what they're for? Can you put them in order? Like, what number is the number for planning tools? And what number is a number for local content management tools? And what number is the number for Sundays and Seasons content categories? Or the URL and overlay tools? You don't have to put this in your in the questions pod, but certainly I'll give you a couple seconds here to think about it. You can go ahead and let me know if you got them all right. Oh, Pat says yes. If one links up with one, that's where you can share URLs and get overlays. Two links up with two. That's the day text, day resources, music resource, preaching resource, and visual resources in Sunday Seasons. Three links up with three, where you can add content, edit content, download content, throw it away, put it in a folder, rank it A to Z, and this is especially true of your custom text area in Sundays and Seasons. And then number four is your planner tools: insert new element, omit element, replace an element in the planner with another element, move elements up and down, edit, preview. There you go. Okay, so what else are we going to do? We're going to explore the add-on preaching module content for Advent through Epiphany. I'm not going to do that real deeply, but I just want you to know that it's there and that it's really a pretty reasonable ad. If you've got the deluxe subscription to Sundays and Seasons, you've got the ability to have preaching resources at your fingertips in Sundays and Seasons as well. And the musicians might want to know that we've got something called Prelude Music Planner. I kind of refer to it as iTunes for church music, where you can find and download church music. And you can also interact between Prelude and Sundays and Seasons. The musician can do their thing in Prelude, and the The worship planners can do their thing in Sundays and Seasons, and those two sites talk to each other if you have them on the same account. So, oh, Patricia, you love Prelude. Fabulous. I'm glad you love it. Say more about Prelude, please. Oh man, it's so hard to talk about Prelude. It's another entirely different web platform, and so it's kind of tough to talk about Prelude. But you can get information about Prelude at preludemusicplanner.org. Preludemusicplanner.org. Yeah, I'm not going to go deeply into Prelude. Sorry about that. Not in this webinar. All right, we're going to build a worship plan. In fact, I've already started building a worship plan. I have saved the plan as a reusable template, in fact, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about there. So we'll do that. And some people just go into Sundays and Seasons to download exactly what they need off the homepage. Some people create, all of their worship planning. They save it in the calendar. They share it with one another. So you can really do some significant things. So it's not just significant content in Sundays and Seasons, but there's a lot of great functionality too. So, for example, if I've worked really hard on a plan for a worship service, in this case it's Maundy, Thursday, and I feel like I want to save that plan for maybe a future Maundy, Thursday to come, you can save that plan as a template and then have it available to you to start from the next time you work on a Maundy, Thursday service. So that's just one example. I've already said templates are your friend in Sundays and Seasons, and so yeah, that's a great functionality. And we will take some time for Q&A. Like Kelly is asking me right now, can you delete a plan? Yes, you can delete a plan, and I'll show you where and how to delete a plan. So what do you want to see? Some of you have already popped in there. I mean, you can definitely start popping in some things if there's something in particular that you want to be able to see when we go live in Sundays and Seasons here in just a minute or so. I regularly get asked about where the Blue Christmas services are in the Advent seasonal rites area. I'll show you that. Maybe you're observing the Holy Innocents this year on December 28th, and you got Sunday the 29th right afterwards. There's a great Innocents Lost, Innocents Redeemed service you might want to take a look at. If you're using All Creation Sings, especially if you're putting together like a hymn service or something like that, there is a wonderful description of each of the hymns and songs in All Creation Sings that are kind of little devotional pieces in and of themselves. I don't know if you found that yet in Sundays and Seasons. And I've been reminded by our worship folks that there's a great post of ideas for things to use from All Creation Sings for Advent, Christmas, and the time after Epiphany on the ELCA worship blogs, blogs.elca.org. So if you want to get even some more inspiration for this time of year, you can do so there. Okay, now let's go live on sundaysandseasons.com. Okay, we're live on my site. Yeah, a lot of thumbs up there. Fabulous. Okay, we're good. A lot of the new stuff in sundaysandseasons.com, of course, appears in the library. And we're going to kind of pull that apart a little bit together when we go into the planner, at least one of the new midweek service. But just by way of reminder, this is what you would see when you sign into Sundays and Seasons. You will see the up and coming Sunday. You'll see what day you're on in this calendar by way of the green circle. And you'll also see the texts that are connected to this particular day, namely Lectionary 32 Year B. Now, there's many people who just want the day texts, and so they'll take a look at the day text. They'll say, I need this to load into the bulletin, and they'll just download all of this content, and boom, all of this content from this page is available to you in a Word document for you to manipulate as you so choose in your local settings. Uh, if you want to dig in a little bit further, you know, the readings are there, including semi-continuous readings, prayers of intercession, all that, offering prayer, all that. You can download just with a click of a button. Now, what readings do you want available? I mentioned this earlier. If you go into my account and you check personal settings and scroll down, you'll see that among the many personal settings that you can see when you use Sundays and Seasons. Now, keep in mind, if somebody else is signed into some Sundays and Seasons, they'll see something different based on their personal preferences. You can have as many people in your church have access to Sundays and Seasons as you want to provide access. And so this is all different for each individual person. But here is where you see the lectionary Bible, now the NRSV UE default. You can click on there. And it's the default version. That's what it'll automatically be. You'll have to click NRSV now or readings for the assembly now if you want to use those. And don't forget, when you make changes, to always save changes so that you have that recorded. I suppose as long as we're in here, the user profiles. Again, I'm in my account. I'm checking on user profiles. Here's where you can add new users to your account of Sundays and Seasons. So just something to keep in mind there as well if you want to involve other people, parish administrator, pastor, musicians. Sometimes with all the great content in the day resources, you might want to involve even some maybe decorating teams or youth or children's teams. So I'll show you what I mean by that here, because I'll open day resources, read in full. And here you've got some great inspirational content. Let's November 10th. Let's move ahead, shall we? Let's move ahead to the first Sunday of Advent, since we're talking about Advent, Christmas. So here's again, whenever you move around in the calendar, all of this content moves around too. I mean, that's one of the sweet things about sundaysandseasons.com is that calendar is a very powerful interactive tool in and of itself. So now we're at those Sunday, December 1st day resources, and scrolling down, we see upcoming commemorations that many people like to have access to as well. But let's go back up again. Let's go to those day resources. Yeah. So here's where a lot of the creative hints we have for you, including the overview. These are always new, those overviews, different ideas, illustrations, various images that could be useful for this particular day in the church year, children's ideas, and various notes to help you dig into the readings a little bit more. Gail Ramshaw's classic lectionary notes. So lots of stuff to inspire you in this day resources area. All right, so I'm going to go back to the homepage. You always go back to the homepage of sundaysandseasons.com by clicking the logo in the upper left-hand corner. So people want new stuff. Well, here's where you really get a feel for the new stuff in Sundays and Seasons. When you're on the homepage, definitely check out subscriber news, because now the ELW baptismal rites are available in Spanish, right? Here we have the information about the NRSV UE Bible option launching. And now we know that the day resources for Advent through Transfiguration are live. I mean, this is probably where you really get the feel for what's happening here. So don't forget the subscriber news. You got the day text, you get the day resources, which people always look at, but then the subscriber news has some useful content in it as well. And at the very bottom of your homepage is where you have your worship plans, your worship templates, and custom texts. Now worship plans are plans for a particular Sunday festival or commemoration. You've started them in the planner. The planner automatically saves them. You can go back to them, and yes, you can check them, and delete them. So whoever asked about can you delete them, there you go. You can check them and you can delete them. Worship templates are versions of worship plans that you might want to use over and over and over again. And so here's one, Restore Our Hope midweek template. I created this ahead of this webinar because I wanted to show this as an example of how useful a template is. So now I can use a resource in Sundays and Seasons and go back to it to do one Wednesday after another Wednesday after another Wednesday. So I think that's kind of a cool thing too. And then custom text, and this is a power user tip here, I guess. I don't know how many of you use custom text, but I find custom text to be very, very useful for pulling content into the planner that's really specific to your local congregation. And an example of this is, this land acknowledgement here. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Plus, hopefully you can see this a little bit better. And minus. This land acknowledgement here. I just put this in here. If you want to see what it looks like, because it's going to be useful later on for us, you can take a look at it. Land acknowledgement. Maybe this is something you want to use regularly. So because it's related to our Advent midweek service this year, I created it and put in our custom text. And I thought, no, that'd be pretty cool to pull in on a regular basis. And that's what this area in Sundays and Seasons is for. I also think, as kind of a fun power user tip, I create these things called blank forms. Blank forms. And what is it? It is exactly that, a blank form. Add text as needed. And what's useful about that is that whenever I need to add some custom content in the planner to my worship plan, and I want a little word processing tool to pop up, this enables me to do it. And I'll show you exactly what I mean when we go into the planner. I want to talk a little bit about the library here before we get to the planner. The library is where you find all of your hymnal collections, and if I go into the All Creation Sings hymnal collections, and if you're interested in those assembly song descriptions, here's where you find those. So now I can look at the assembly song for all of these Advent and Christmas choices and see, oh, well, that's kind of a fun story related to this particular song. I might be able to use that. So notice what I did. I previewed, or I could download just that assembly song description, or I could add it to the clipboard, which is kind of a fun thing to do. Maybe I'll do that. Actually, I'll add that to the clipboard. So somebody asked me, what do you use the clipboard for? Well, I added that to the clipboard, and I assume you'll find out. I'm going to go back and down to the Sundays and Seasons resources because I want to add something else to the clipboard. Here's where you'll find a lot of your new content in Sundays and Seasons, like these seasonal rites for Advent, new content on top, Restore Our Hope, and Advent midweek prayer service. You can preview this item. If you say, hey, I want to use that, you can download this item, which is what I'm going to do right now, and we'll shelve that for later too. So let's grab something else here from our seasonal rites. Let's grab a lighting of the Advent wreath. All right, in this case, I'm going to, here's a new writing of the Advent wreath liturgies. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, and when we're in the planner, I'm going to show you how I've used that as well. All right, so I've put a couple things on the clipboard now. But this is really the seasonal rites essays is really the best place to go to find the latest content, new content on top for Christmas. And here's the Christmas lessons and carols, or the reflections from Martin Luther, the Innocents Lost service, So definitely go to these areas in the library to find out what's new. And here's that land acknowledgement guide. Um, and so, yeah, just a little hint for finding new resources. But I did want to refer to a couple of other things here. As long as I'm in here, here's other resources. Here's where you'll find the prison prayer book with all of its prayers and wonderful prayers and liturgies. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, whether it's the English version or the Spanish version. And the children's bulletins too. There's downloadable children's bulletins in sundaysandseasons.com for each Sunday of the church year. There's actually a couple series of them, the Spark versions and the Kids Celebrate versions. So, all right. I am going to go across the music tab for those of you who are accustomed to Sundays and Seasons. Music tab is just a really great place to find music or just use the music that's been suggested. So this little area that says view suggestions for this day, this is where you'll find the music that our team has suggested for the first Sunday in Advent. Whether it's hymns, songs, and psalmody, whether it's choral and vocal music, or whether it's keyboard and instrumental music. And whenever there's a P in front of it, it means that piece is also in prelude. So you can if you say, hey, that's really great. I want that sheet music. You can download that right out of prelude for those of you who have that. You've got all of these song collections too. There's a ton of music to draw from in sundaysandseasons.com. And for those of you who may not know exactly what you want to use, the search functions in sundaysandseasons.com are super helpful as well. Maybe you just want to go and say, I'm going to wildcard this. I just need some hymn that has the word, okay, ponder. Why not? Search. So you can literally search on music that granularly in Sundays and Seasons, or you can even search on. Maybe you don't know the title, but you know some of the words, or you want something to go with a particular scripture reference. That's all useful too. And if you only have Evangelical Lutheran Worship in the pews, and that's the only thing you want to use, you can make sure that it only searches through that. So musicians in the mix might want to find some hymns and songs that have to have a certain text meter. They can find that and maybe swap the tunes and the text between various hymns and Sundays and Seasons. Someone asked about one license. This is where you can check what license you have, and that'll show you then the items that are covered by that particular license. There is no, however, direct integration between sundaysandseasons.com. Sundays and Seasons won't do your reporting for you for any of these licensing services, but it can let you know, just show you which ones are covered, for example, by one license or CCLI or AF hymns. Okay, and then the preaching area. This is where you find the preaching content. This is an add-on module. If you have a deluxe subscription, you can get all kinds of notes and ideas and some legacy new proclamation essays. All the new stuff is under crafting the sermon. So for each of the days of the church year, if you look under crafting the sermon and check out from a scholar notes and from a preacher notes, that's all new stuff for this particular year. And then visuals, as I go across the tabs, this is where you find a lot of the great color and black and white visuals that are available to you in Sundays and Seasons, including PowerPoint slides that are tied into our bulletin series, subscription bulletin series. So that's kind of a great area as you're putting together bulletins. We talked a little bit about the Bible, and now the NRSV UE is an option, and you can search on NRSV UE by Bible passage lookup, passage by text. But one of the coolest features in Sundays and Seasons is the reverse lectionary function in Sundays and Seasons. So if I just click on Matthew 6 and say go, I can see all the Sundays that have supporting content for Matthew chapter 6, Sundays, festivals, church commemorations. All of these support the reading of a text in Matthew 6. So that's kind of a fun thing, especially if you're using, let's say, the narrative lectionary or what have you. All right, so I'm going to go back to sundaysandseasons.com. If you notice, there's a gray circle around the 4th of December here. That's because I've already planned something here. Um, I've created a service here on the 4th. This day has a plan. It's midweek. It's a midweek service that I want to get into. So let's get into this service. It's a current worship plan for Wednesday, December 4th of 2024. And I'm going to edit this plan, all right? And this is what I've been working on. I've been trying to create a version of Restore Our Hope in the planner. And let me show you what it looked like as just a download, okay? So a simple download of Restore Our Hope looks like this, all right? Um, this is the worship service, okay? And here's all the elements, including an invocation, land acknowledgement, litanies, um, and gathering hymns that you could use for each of the weeks of Advent. So this is all included in this download, as well as a lot of these great ideas in red about how you can do things like florilegia, which is this wonderful practice thing that can be done in if you're using this particular midweek service. So there's all kinds of content here that you can use and manipulate, just as you would any other Word document. But what I've done here is I have taken this and put it in a worship plan. So I've parsed it all out. I've got all my worship notes up here. That's all that red italic stuff. If somebody wanted to see how to do certain things and various rubrics. But now I've also taken all of the elements that we would have seen in the download and put it into a plan here. I can choose the hymns that were in the download. It's very easy to choose a hymn in Sundays and Seasons Planner. You just put the hymn number in there, and then you get the hymn. More of the hymn than you probably really want. Maybe you just want the title and the melody, so you can make those choices here now, and then you've got just this. All right. So this is a really powerful tool too. But maybe we're missing something. Maybe after the gathering hymn, we wanted to add an element that I put on the clipboard. You remember what I put on the clipboard? I put on a lighting of the Advent wreath on the clipboard. Check. So now that item that I brought over from the library is now in my worship plan. And so in conjunction to the singing this gathering hymn, I now have the lighting of the Advent wreath. All of these other elements here, including the psalm and the reading, are things that I just added in this worship plan from that Word document. Now, what would be the advantage of doing that, of setting this up in this way? Well, even though it really is a version of that Word document, the fun thing is now I can go back in Sundays and Seasons, and if I want to make a plan for the next Wednesday, planet, special it's looking toward I'm going to use a template here. So I'm going to look toward this day. Pick a template, restoring our hope. I can save that service as a template, and I can now start from the with all the elements that were in that midweek worship service and add new content pertaining to that particular day. So templates are very powerful things that you can use over and over again. If you said to yourself, I'm looking at these various practices, Florilegia, and I said, yeah, I want to use one or the other of these practices. Um, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to only use option one, and so you can use this as a regular mini word processor here, and and just use option one and eliminate all the other options that were available to you in that download. Or maybe you want to use an entirely different Florilegia practice. Um, I could say, okay, I found something that I really want to use. I don't want to use this one, but I want to use another one. I'm going to use one that I found and I stuck in my custom text. And I found a brand new Florilegia process that I've just copied off of a blog post. And now I've got a brand new one that's Florilegia uh, um, scrapbook. Florilegia is a variation of a practice that we may have been doing in one way or another our whole life, collecting and noting down quotes, images, ideas that sparkle for us. Though this practice dates back to medieval times, let's use these blank scrapbooks to do it with intention over the season of Advent beyond. As the Latin name suggests, we can take little plucked flowers from the readings and other sources and replant them beside one another on the pages of this book. Reading them in this way, separated from the original context, they can offer us new sparklets of insight, spurring us to find unseen depth through a newly contextualized examination. So that's something I created in my custom text and brought over into into this template for this midweek Lenten service. Advent service. So those of you who are familiar with using the planner, you know that it is a fun place to plan. And one of the things I didn't mention as far as the planner is concerned is that there's a replace button in the planner that's also very powerful. You can replace this version of the Lord's Prayer. Oops, I'm gotta give it time. With any of the Lord's Prayers that are found in any of the liturgical collections in Sundays and Seasons, including a Spanish one. So it's really a useful tool, this planner, for grabbing content and moving content around, omitting content, adding custom content, just a really kind of a cool tool. And if you're done, you go continue. And then you may want to download some clip art too, but I'm not going to. I'm going to download the worship plan and requested music graphics. This is probably the most significant way to download the content out of Sundays and Seasons, because it's out of a plan that you've created. It has all the music that you want. It's already put together, if you will, and downloadable then for you as a zip file. I don't know if so here, extract all, just extract. There it is. So here's my worship plan that we've been working on for this midweek service. All right, so that's just one example of how you could use Sundays and Seasons, for a midweek Lenten series. Go back, make changes. So what you do is you open a new service element using the arrow key. You select service element type to insert in this location. you go to clipboard, and let's say we were using that hymn. Now the stars start to whisper, and we wanted that little description of that hymn because I did that too. Check, and now we have the description of that hymn. Now the stars start to whisper. So that's how you use the clipboard. Open a new service element, and then drop it into that service element. Um, let's see. Uh, Once you've deleted the item, a deleted item stays there. So let's say if I've deleted um, gathering. Let's do another open a element to insert, and we'll call this gathering just to distinguish it between the two. Um, and select element, and I'm just going to grab something here just to illustrate this. I don't know what I've got available to me. Let's just use the Advent wreath. Okay, check. So now if I omit this, and then I want to maybe add it back, um, that gathering is here. All right, so I didn't lose it. It's still there. So I can put that back, JJ. Um, so how do I delete a template that's already been created? All right, now I'm moving into the home page and going down the home page. Templates, worship templates at the bottom of the home page. You can find your template, check it, delete it. Hopefully that helps you. Should each user in our church have a separate profile? Yeah, I would recommend that. I would definitely recommend that to be the case. All right, I'm going to go back to the download hymns thing for a little bit because um, when I download a hymn, um, well, actually, let's just do it from music, and let's find a hymn. Wake Awake. All right, and now we've got this hymn here, and when you're in the music area, by the way, it's fun because you can take a look at the hymn and all the information about that hymn in Sundays and Seasons, including copyright information, who holds the copyright, various details, musical details about key and range and scripture references. Um, but besides peering into all the details about this hymn, you can also play it. Like for me, I'm not a musical person. I don't think you can hear this, but I can. Um, Being able to hear the tune is just super useful for me as far as picking music is concerned. Does the congregation know this? Do they not know this? But let's download this hymn. Again, this is how you would download the hymn. Yes, I'm going to download just one file. I realize that it's a copyright file. I'm getting that's kind of awareness of this fact here. And so I downloaded it, and it comes as a zip file, which means it's a very uh, a detailed file. If I got to extract, and I got to go back to my downloads. Wake Awake. Um, and here's the TIF version. Let's open it up in, I don't know, Paint. Okay. Where'd you go? See how large this file is? It's huge. And that's why I don't know how you're downloading it, but it's a very large file, and so hopefully, if you download it that way, you'll find that it has a high degree of clarity to it. Um, let's see. I'm looking at questions again. Um, Well, somebody is asking me, is a worship plan mainly to be used by the preacher? I wouldn't say that, Terry. I would say it's the parish administrator who wants, you know, the preacher and the administrator agree on a plan and they save it as a template. They protect that thing because they can go to it service after service. Like every communion services, this is something you use regularly. That's something you can get to. And Laura says amen to that. Let's see, a multicultural sense and style and worship. Well, one of the easiest ways, aside from using the Spanish resources, of course, to go into a more multicultural worship experience is by going down to the assembly songs, or choosing songs like from um, various collections that might have a more multicultural um, uh, flavor to them. I mean, that's one of the things I would recommend, is just maybe not looking at the suggested typical LBW ELW hymns, but going down to this section, additional assembly songs. Um, all right. No, we don't. We give you PowerPoint um, templates, Meredith, but you will have to pull the copy into the template. I mean, you can download it. Where's my download of that song? Um, all the way up, all the way up. Downloads. So when I did Awake Awake, of course, you get Awake Awake in a Word document too, and so then you can pull it out there and drop it into a template. Tim asked, once you have reviewed and downloaded the worship plan, well, what the download won't do for you, Tim, is put it into whatever local format you use. It doesn't predict for you what size bulletin blank you use, and so you'll need to um, do that locally. Yeah, thank you, Demisha, for mentioning This Far by Faith, another resource for different cultural experience. So Laura asked the worship plan into a printable, foldable bulletin. No, it produces it in a 8.5 by 11 sheet, and you have to take that and drop it into, squeeze it into whatever format you normally do. So it's a document. It's 8.5 by 11 letter format. That's maybe the answer is yes to that question. Sorry about that. Downloading work with Apple computers. It like I said, it downloads as docx. So um, that's hopefully useful. I think a lot of clipboard questions. I think I answered all of that as best I could in this time. Um, seasonal rights. The seasonal rights, where you need to look for seasonal rights in the library is in the Sundays and Seasons resources. So this Sundays and Seasons resources is what you would get in the print volume, actually, and more, because there's legacy content that we've kept in there that's been appreciated. That's not in the latest print volume. So there's actually more in sundaysandseasons.com. But you would scroll down, and this is where you find the seasonal rights. Loving the music tab. That's fabulous. Um, to find the Restore Our Hope, you go to Seasonal Rights under Sundays and Seasons Resources. You go to Seasonal Rights for Advent, and it's right there at the top in the library. In the library. Wow. Where did you go to begin a worship plan? Well, that's a that's a really great question. Um, so again, it all starts here at the banner calendar and looking at what Sunday you're looking ahead toward. Um, so if I pick the 22nd um, on the calendar, all this says 22nd, and then I can get to it in a variety of different ways. I can pick planner, planet, or pick the day here in the left sidebar. It all takes me to the planner. I pick planet. And this is where you'll find the fourth Sunday of Advent, right? You can start from a template. You can plan for a particular worship service. So that could be one of the selections you make when you're planning. That's something you set up in your account settings. You can plan for a particular location. And then you can also plan it if you just don't need any of that. You don't need to start from a template or for a place or for a location. You just hit plan it, and then the four-part process, the three-part process. You select a base liturgy, and I used actually as a base liturgy to put in my Restore Our Hope. I just picked a simple ACS service of word and prayer, and I moved stuff around and added stuff to that. But you can select any of these base liturgies. And then once you select the base liturgy, that's when you can begin to customize each of these elements, which is a line in the order of service. You can omit something, you can replace it with something else from another liturgy. You can add, so if I wanted to add that, if I wanted after confession and forgiveness here, this is a Sunday morning service, and I want to add the lighting of the wreath into this service too. Boom, there it is. I got it in this service too. So, Joyce, Sundays and Seasons 101 training. Um, I'm actually going to show you something else, Joyce, that might be helpful to you. So I'm going to drag over this. This is from augsburgfortress.org. All right. This is our homepage, augsburgfortress.org. If you scroll down to here, there's webinars. And these are all of our on-demand webinars. So you go there, and now you'll see our on-demand webinars, which is great. That's useful. All right. But what perhaps is even more useful for some of the questions that you're having here is our Sundays and Seasons on-demand training library. So if you click on that, then all of a sudden you'll see a bunch of tutorials that really get you into that 101 version of Sundays and Seasons. Okay. Select a special service day in the planner. Sure. And special service. Dana wants to know, if you're still with me, Dana, how you select a special service. If I go back to sundaysandseasons.com and I want to start working on a special service for Christmas Day, for example, I can use this area in the left sidebar to start building Christmas Day and Christmas Eve services. And you know, there's a couple of them that are going to be available to you, and you can start using the resources that are part of our regular planning process, to be sure. Or you can do as I have done with the Advent service. I can go into the library and I can go under seasonal resources and seasonal rights and find something for Christmas. And maybe this lessons and carols here from Martin Luther. And I can start grabbing some of this content. I can download it and start grabbing some of this content and putting it into the planner. Let me give you an example of how I might do that. So I've downloaded the Christmas lessons and carol reflections from Martin Luther. I'm opening that up. I'm going to take this opening dialogue. I'm going to enable editing. I'm going to take this opening dialogue here. I'm just going to copy this. Copy. I'm going to go back to the planner. Sorry. Um, and Plan for Nativity of our Lord. And let's see, I'm going to plan it. And I'm going to just pick up base liturgy here. I like sometimes when I'm doing special services, I really like using a very simple liturgy. And if I want to stick that opening right here, and I'm going to open a custom text. And I don't know if you remember I said this, but I like having these blank forms, kind of a power user idea. Opening. I forget exactly what it's called. I'll add that later. If I check on this, and then I edit the blank form, boom, there's the content that I copied, save and plan. And now I'm moving content from that download into this. It may not be all that useful for a single service, but if you've got a whole series of let's say midweek Lenten services that you're planning and you want to use the same template for that over and over again, you might want to set something like this up. And I can save this as a template. When I save it as a plan, I save it as a one-off kind of experience, situated for one particular day on the calendar. But if I save it as a template, it's something I can go to over and over again. I can save it into a folder that's you can set your own folders. You can have music directors folder. You can have any folders you want, but then you can save those in there and go back to those templates to reuse them over and over again. All right. And so you're not going to find a plan for this service. Oh, how did you get it on your calendar? Well, so let's say this is a worship plan for Tuesday, December 24th. If I save this now, and it's actually already saved, but I'm going to save it now, and I'm going to save it. Let's say I'm going to save it as neither of those matter. It doesn't matter. I'll just go save plan. So now when I go to the calendar, let's go to calendar, and let's go to 24. See that there, this gray circle? That means that service that I've started here is now available to plan on the 24th. If I go to the larger calendar on the 24th, there it is, and it'll take me right. It'll take me right to it. Now I didn't name it anything specific, but here it is. Current worship plan. So these are the ones that you could do. These are the ones that you have already started at the bottom here. And if I click on that to edit it, it should have my Luther piece in there. Yeah, that opening is in there. So that's how I did that. The Psalms, Stephen asked about the Psalms. Will they all be NRSV UE? They will be NRSV UE if that's the personal settings that you have chosen. If you have NRSV UE chosen, choose, and then save changes, then yes, that will be the case. It is possible for people to work on a plan, but at the same time, that might be tricky, Kim. If anybody's ever been in a document where two people are working on it at the same time, there's nothing you can do about it. It's tricky. But one of the fun things that you can do is, I'll just go back to the one that we've started here for the 4th. And this is the one that's going on right now. Edit. One of the fun things you can do is use this little link button, and you can actually copy this link here and share the link so that somebody can get into that plan. So that how does one then print the service? You don't really print out of Sundays and Seasons, Carol. You download out of Sundays and Seasons. So if I continue this and I preview this and I say, okay, that's basically what I want. I've been kind of putting this together. over the course of this time we've had together, and it looks good. Then I download the worship plan and the requested music graphics, and then from the download, uh, you know, I add it to my word processor and print from my word processor. Lots of great questions. And I know Sundays and Seasons has just a tremendous amount of content and functionality, but just really appreciate you spending some time. We've gone a little bit overtime, as a matter of fact, and and just hopefully got you into a few new things and reminded you about some of the functionality of Sundays and Seasons, pointed you to where you can get some additional help in Sundays and Seasons. I'll take a look at I'll take a look at the questions after I'm done with here. There's some real questions that I really feel like I didn't really cover and should answer directly. I'll try to do that too. So yeah, whenever we get the Q&A, it gets pretty random, but you do learn a lot of stuff along the way. You get into doing things that you don't normally get into. So, all right. Well, God's blessings to you. And with this season coming up, I pray that this could be just a super useful tool for you to really enrich your people in worship. And uh, we do offer these webinars on a regular basis. And I will tell you that I have people coming on numerous occasions to come to a webinar. So I don't know, anybody else here been to one of my webinars before? Because I do have webinar groupies. Got to tell you. Yeah, you're welcome back to webinars anytime, Laura. Love to have you. We'll learn something new every time. Yeah, as a newer admin and a director of music ministry, there's tons of stuff for you, Lynn, in sundaysandseasons.com. I mean, you'll find that it's just a real blessing to have. I mean, in many churches, sundaysandseasons.com is like it's like water and electricity. It's just what we have to have to make things happen. All right. I don't see that I've got anything hanging right now with anyone. So I'm gonna sign off on this webinar, and I'm going to say thank you. You all take care. Bye bye. for printing your bulletin in. You